Well, hello there. I'm finally building a proper work table because what I have now is just a flimsy clump of pallet wood. Granted, the new tabletop will still be made of pallet wood, but at least it'll be sturdy, unlike the wobbly mess I've been using so far. Since I already had assembled the top, the next step was flattening it, and because my glue up skills aren't exactly pro level, I decided to make a flattening jig to help with the process. Luckily, I managed to get my hands on some discarded kitchen furniture doors and side panels, which I used for the fences and the router sled rails. So overall, this project cost me little more than some screws, fuel, which, let's be honest, is painfully expensive these days, and a good chunk of time, but it was a lot of fun nonetheless. I started with the fences, cutting 2 large pieces and 2 smaller ones from the side panels. I made sure the smaller pieces were the trimmed ends so they'd have a smooth edge for easier operation. For the sled, I used a sleek MDF kitchen door. I calculated the size based on my router's dimensions and the thickness of the MDF, but I later swapped out the side pieces for a different wood. Wood left over from my soundproofing panels project, since the original choice was too thick and heavy. Even after that, there was still a last minute change to the sides, which you'll see at the end of the video. Following some online guides to avoid ending up with a badly flattened surface, I made sure to screw the sled walls from the bottom instead of the sides. I also added end stops to prevent the router from sliding off, because let's be real, I definitely would have had a whoopsie moment otherwise. Now, here's the thing about following random DIY tutorials online. You never really know who to trust. One video suggested using a wood drill bit in an impact driver to drill the sled holes. Well, I tried that. And let's just say that removing that bit later was an absolute nightmare. 2 hours of struggle later, I finally got it out. Lesson learned. Just use a proper drill for those bits. Even if they fit an impact driver, trust me on this one. After all that, I noticed my router bit wasn't quite long enough for the sled thickness, so I had to widen the hole in the MDF slightly to make it more future-proof. With the jig fully built, I ran into one last issue. The router bit wasn't long enough to reach through the sled properly, so I ordered a 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch extension bit from Amazon. 2 days later, I was back in action. On one end, I attached an extra wooden guide to keep the sleds running smoothly along the rails. To make the whole thing safer, I also built a stop block system using 2 small wooden pieces, an M8 threaded insert nut and an M8 knob screw. This locks the sled in place on the rails and prevents any unexpected disasters. Finally, I found my missing router dust extraction attachment. Since it sits close to the bottom of the router, I had to modify the sled, removing one side and replacing it with a shorter wall. This change doesn't affect performance at all, but it allows me to attach my dust extractor and at least catch some of the wood chips while working. And here it is. Working as intended and flattening my definitely not perfect tabletop. Does it make a ridiculous amount of wood chips and dust? Yes. Was it hella fun to watch the tabletop transform from warp and uneven to flat as a pancake? Also yes. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments, drop a like, and if you want to see more of my project, subscribe. I've got plenty more builds planned, from woodworking jigs and garage upgrades to some really cool DIY pieces like the lamp I made in my last video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.